Well, you guys are up and ready to go this morning. So first of all, before we started, I just wanted to let you guys know when Tony and I were talking about doing these underwriting trainings and helping clients or agents and everything, I said, you know, we need to give the agents a little bit of incentive. We need to give them something to make them want to come more than just, you know, learning something new every day. So we put together just like a quick incentive program. I'm not sure if Tony's excited about it, but I love it. I'm stoked about it. So basically, it's going to be on a points basis. So you get 10 points for showing up, and then every question that you ask that's relative to what we're training on, we're going to give you 5 points if I remember to mark it down. So I have to add that little disclosure. So when you ask a question, if I'm slow to respond, it's because I'm doing a little check mark by your name to make sure you get those points. And then towards the end of the month, we're going to add up all your points, and whoever has the most points is going to get a prize.
We don't know what the prize is yet, but it'll be something.
It'll be something. You'll get a little something, something for your effort. So, okay, let's get started. And Tony's driving, so he's gonna skip ahead a few times. I'm gonna have to tell him to go back, I bet, but that's okay. Okay, so our objectives today are basically the same for homeowners and auto. We're going to provide you with the tools for home and auto quoting that will help you underwrite your risks properly. And then we're going to, throughout the discussion, outline important items to discuss with your clients. I'm just going to show you how we do it here. You guys can decide if that's something that you want to pick up on or change to, you know, fit your habits or whatever. Okay, so our first tool that we're going to go over is Zillow.com. A lot of you might be familiar with it. Google Earth, Risk Meter, U.S. Postal Service, and then there's various other real estate websites like Trulia, Redfin, etc. Okay, so Zillow, if you guys aren't familiar with it, it's a real estate website that has a bunch of detailed information that usually pulls from county records. So you can pull up your built square footage, number of bedrooms and bathrooms, fireplaces you can see from the pictures, also looking at detached structures. And then you can sometimes get a rough estimate on the distance to brush just by viewing the aerial photos. So what you want to do is you want to enter the property address and click the Go button. And then it's going to pull this screen up, and it's going to show you that little that box right there. So basic property info. And when I'm on the phone with the client, I'm automatically thinking to myself, okay, does this have brush? That's my first issue. If I don't, regardless if I see brush or whatever, you're going to click on that hyperlink right there that Tony showed you, and it's going to take you to a more detailed property screen. This one is nice because this home is either on the market or it was on the market in the past. So there's a description there from the realtor that you might not always get, and then there's also property photos. So in that big box on the left is your property information. I don't know if you guys get it a lot, but I get from my clients, I don't know when it's built, or I have no idea how big the house is. So if that's the case, then you can pull this information from the website. Go ahead. This is just information that you can pull from here without talking to your client. Obviously, you want to verify everything, but I know just by looking at the photos and at this website, it's 6,700 square feet. There's a tile roof. Going through the photos on the right, I saw that there was that there was 3 fireplaces just from the photos. You can also look at photos to verify interior sprinklers and custom items, things like that.
How many of you guys are using Zillow already?
I use it.
We use it at Aloha.
Okay. Yeah, one of the things also you're going to find is that, and this is actually, it's interesting because we had a situation come up with one of our newer members yesterday, and he's working toward a Mercury thing, and he said that a memo came back regarding the risk, and his comment was that, well, he'd had the client for a long time at his former captive company, and he thought he knew the answer to the question. So I told him 2 things. I said, number 1, never assume that you answer an underwriting question for the insured, but number 2 is that there are resources like this where he could have gone to find additional fact-checking that would have helped guide him. And anytime you can discover your own information, it makes you look more informed and more sophisticated to your prospect and client, which, we're trying to differentiate ourselves amongst our competition. So the more polished, professional, and sophisticated you can be, the better it is.
And just a quick comment really quick about that square footage. Super important to verify it. On the phone, I always go, oh, it looks like you're about 6,700 square feet, because you never know if that guy just did an addition. You know, maybe he didn't pull permits for, and it's not on the county record. So maybe the house is really 8,000 square feet, and it's not pulling from Zillow. So something to keep in mind. Okay, so our next one is Google Earth, and this one's one of my favorites. I like to play with it all the time anyway, just for personal use. Google Earth is cool because it allows you to explore almost anywhere on Earth with satellite aerial views and street views. You can get down at the street level. Again, you can obtain a rough estimate on the distance to brush. And with that, I mean you just visually kind of gauge it. You know, oh, it's in a brushy area, or oh, it's in a total, you know, city area, so I don't have to worry about brush.
There is, just to augment Jen's comments, there is, how many of you guys have Google Earth installed on your computers?
I do. I do.
Okay. If you don't, you need to install it. It's just flat out, you need to install it. There is a tools area where you can measure, and so you can set your distance to measure by feet. You can draw point-to-point lines, and so it's actually probably more accurate than a risk meter, simply because you can get a really good idea. I mean, gut feel is that 1,000 feet to brush is the very minimum that most of our carriers want, with the exception of a Foremost, maybe a Fidelity or something like that. And so if you have Google Earth and you draw your lines and you see that it's 700, 800 feet to brush, you're going to have a problem. If you got, you know, 2,000 feet to brush, the good recommendation is to always, you know, contact your underwriter if you see brush in the area to get approval so it doesn't come back and bite you. But make sure you install Google Earth. We're going to go through it here.
Yeah, I always check with my underwriters regardless, but at least it gives me an idea of who to check with. Because I know in my head who, you know, like travelers can be more lenient on brush. So if it's kind of a brushy area, I know I'm not going to call, I don't know, I'm not going to call Kemper, let's say, because she doesn't want brush in that area. But travelers might take it. So this is the first screen that you see with Google Earth, and you just enter your property address in that section and click the little magnifying glass. It's neat because it actually, like, the Earth turns and you can see it like zooming, and it's pretty cool. But this is what you get, you know, just a basic aerial shot. Looking for brush here, just as a quick, quick review there. And then here's my property address over on the right-hand side. Did you go back?
I did. Sorry.
Okay. Okay. So go ahead. So this is what we're concerned about right here, all of this brush. This is the measuring tool that Tony was talking about. Pretty cool. That little ruler button that he just highlighted brings up that box. And there's a drop down there that you can select feet, miles, yards, whatever. And so with that tool, I clicked my property, and I clicked the closest to the brush that I was concerned about. And then it highlights how many feet I am away. So 6,200 feet it looks like. So that one should be okay for most of our carriers, you know, just using it as an example for you guys.
For those of you guys that came over from Allstate, Joe and Stephanie specifically, I know Allstate had been traditionally more lenient on brush in the past. Farmers as well. So, you know, I think one of the things you guys are going to find is that during the quoting process, claims and brush are two things, lack of updates, vicious dogs. There are a few other things, but claims and brush specifically is one thing that you can underwrite for very, very quickly and prevent a lot of frustration on the back end. So for all of you guys, just get in the habit of when you're quoting to make sure that you're looking for the brush exposure at the point of quote so that you can lay that seed in the client's mind if there is some exposure. Because I would even tell a client, Jen may do this as well, you know, I see there's brush quite a ways away from you, but there is some in the area. I don't think it's going to be an issue with anybody, but you still say that so that if it did come up with one carrier that you really wanted to get placed with and they said, no, we're not going to do it because of brush, then you're not setting up yourself to look bad and you're not frustrating the client.
Yeah, and I also, to the same point, if I see that it's close to brush, if it's in a brushy area, I'm not going to try to cross-sell them for a package. I might let them know, oh, we also do auto, but if it's something that I know I'm going to have to place with like Foremost, I'm not going to try to tell them that I can give them an account credit, because that's just going to, you know, they'll fly off the handle when I tell them that they don't qualify for the package because of the carrier we're placing them with. Yep. Okay, so this is the street view. This is neat. I always like to look at people's houses and stuff. You put your little man on the street, and then Google Earth kind of zooms down in there. So go ahead and click. These are kind of things that you can just visually see. You know, they've got a fireplace and a tile roof. You might be able to see that they have like a dog kennel on the side of their house. So you can ask them if they have a dog. All of that good stuff. Does anybody have any questions so far?
We good?
We're that good? We're that amazing? That nobody has questions?
Jen likes to think of herself as amazing. We think she is.
Okay, so the next one is Risk Meter, and does anybody use Risk Meter? Anybody have a membership with them right now?
No.
We use it here.
Okay, you guys did get one, Kelly?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So Risk Meter is just a website online that you register for, and it gives you distance to brush, FEMA flood zones, and brush areas. Everything's up to date. According to the screen, everything's up to data for California Department of Fire and Forestry and other government sources. So they do refresh it on a monthly basis, and it's usually pretty current. So for carriers that don't use their own brush mapping, you know, you'll want to print out a risk meter for your file.
The other thing I would say, this is a pay service, so I think, if I'm not mistaken, Kelly, you might know off the top of your head, but I think it's like 50 cents per brush report. So what you do when you register, you put a $50 credit or, you know, whatever on your account, and that'll last you for quite a while. And you know, I would recommend you exhaust all free tools before you go to Risk Meter, but it's a great tool to have, you know, at your disposal. So
because like First American, First American is kind of weird on their brush anyway, but we have a risk meter in our system. So if something does come back, they say, oh, well, we checked risk meter. Well, we checked it too, and this is what we got. You know, when we verified the brush with the underwriter and she says it was fine, we also have risk meter in our file to kind of back us up. So
same with Mercury, I think, right?
Yeah, Mercury does. You should use risk meter for Mercury too. So this is what it looks like. You just enter your address information and hit the submit button. And then down in the left-hand corner, it says CDS brush fires, you know, distance to high and distance to medium. You're going to click all 4 of those boxes, and it's going to show you the distance in, you know, number format, and then it's going to show it to you on a map too. So you can see here that there's medium and high brush. Tells you right there what the distance is. That way I know that, oh, that's going to be a problem with somebody. And then if you scroll down a little bit more, here's a map. So the red and the orange is what you're concerned about. Any questions so far?
Somebody need to get that? I'm going to mute everybody just until that phone gets picked up. One of the things you can see is that you've got red brush pockets right along the edge of the house, and you've got obviously a heavy density down to the south. So there's no, you may look at this on a satellite photo and think, oh, maybe that doesn't look too bad. But Risk Meter also looks at the slope, the fuel, a number of other factors that go into brush and wildfire exposure, not just flat out what's the fuel. And so when they're color coding this, they're color coding that with those things in mind. All right, I unmuted everybody.
Technical difficulties.
All right.
Okay, U.S. Postal Service. This one I use all the time. You know, if people have like rental properties, they don't know what the zip is. I'm sure you guys have used it before. You just plug in the address and hit the submit button. Gives you the, you know, the full address for your property or mailing or whatever. That one's a pretty simple one, but I use it all the time. Additional web tools, Trulia, which is also a real estate website similar to Zillow, but I don't think you get the aerial shots, and then Redfin as well. Google Maps is similar to Google Earth without installing the Google Earth program. However, we do recommend that you install it just because there's so many useful tools with Google Earth. So also on the homeowner stuff, if you see anything come up on Trulia, Redfin, or Zillow, like it is on the market or was on the market, you want to ask your client if that's the case. Because if it is the case, you automatically know that none of our carriers are going to take it, with the exception of Foremost. So if it's on the market, that's a red flag and something to consider when you're talking to them. And then we're just going to cruise through auto really quick. There's not a ton of outside sources that we use for auto because for the most part auto is pretty cut and dry. But the first thing that we typically use is Carfax. I always have issues with Carfax. I always have issues with VIN. So if you're just a few digits off, you can always plug that VIN number into Carfax and it will say, oh, I think it's, you're looking for a 2002 Mercedes and you're one digit off, so this must be the VIN. So if you're using EasyLinks or FSC and it's not pulling it, you can always plug that VIN into Carfax and it'll give you the correct VIN if it's a few digits off. When I'm talking to clients on the phone about autos, there's so many different ways you can ask them if they have activity on their record. So my little script is, have you had any tickets in the last 3 years, accidents in the last 5 years, or major violations in the last 10 years? So that kind of gets them thinking about the timelines and stuff, because if you just say, do you have any tickets on your record, well, they don't know what that means. They don't know if it counts for if it was a year ago or if it was 12 years ago. So that's been very helpful, the way we ask that. The next one is usage and occupation versus annual mileage. This is a big one, and it's something that we come across with policies that we see are issued all the time. If you have a realtor that is self-employed and they bought a new car 2 years ago and it has 60,000 miles on it now, you know that it's not going to be pleasure or commute use at 10,000 miles a year. That's kind of a red flag that the company is going to see. What's going to happen is they're going to verify their mileage at the next renewal, and then the premium is going to totally jump because now instead of going pleasure or commute at 10,000, now it's a business use at 30,000. And that's going to create problems because your client's going to call you really upset. So just make sure that, people that have occupations like a realtor or a contractor or outside sales, you need to make sure that you're getting some more details on that information to make sure that you're rating the auto policy correctly. Also, something to consider is that contractors with trucks, if they're self-employed, you need to get the details on that. How many job sites do they drive to every day? Do they have signage on their truck? Do they carry tools in their truck? Because that's going to limit the number of carriers that will accept that risk. It's most likely a commercial exposure. Also, I don't come across it a lot, but I'm sure you guys know pizza delivery is an automatic no-go for personal lines. So if you come across a family account and the kid just happens to deliver pizzas on Saturday night, that's not something that you can, that you can place with our personal lines carriers.
Just so you guys know, annual miles is one of the top 3 rating variables. And it's obviously, we all know if you've been in the business a while, that it's one of the areas that most agents play around with the most, trying to manipulate rate. And it's also the most subjective because the client is just telling you what they think. And so one of the things that's real important to keep in mind, especially for those of you who are newer to the business, the average annual mileage per year is somewhere around Kemper told it to me maybe a year ago. I think it was like 13,300 and something average annual miles per year. So the reality is that the majority of people who are being rated at 7,500 or 10,000 miles, they're being way underestimated. And like Jen said, we don't want to set our clients up for a bad surprise. We're building our business for the renewals, So you sell new business to make a living initially, but it's the renewal business that is what is the power of our business. So you want a large, stable book of renewals. You don't want to have to be spinning your wheels remarketing accounts every renewal because of underwriting issues that should have been caught in the first, at the very first when you wrote it. And that goes with servicing your policies too over time to make sure that you're keeping things accurate and updated as you come into information. But what are you guys seeing out there as far as average annual miles from the clients that you guys are seeing? Does mileage seem to be an issue for you guys as far as trying to get it accurate?
No, not
Anyone?
See a lot of 12,000.
That's a good standard entry point, John. I think typically that's what I used to quote at, 10 to 12. I really never went below 10, unless it was like a super old person or somebody with multiple cars who was retired or something. But
Right. Or if their deck pages, justify it.
yeah. Yeah, it's a challenge. It's something that our carriers watch pretty hawkishly. Even though it's interesting, I was talking to one of our carriers, and we're going to see some interesting technology changes. I know I'm getting off topic here for just a quick second, but for those of you guys that represent Safeco, you may have noticed that Safeco said recently we will give 1 free year of OnStar to any client that installs it and buys insurance from us. And so when you think about that, you think, oh, wow, how charitable is Safeco? And I cannot verify this, but in conversation with another carrier, GMAC, who was in bed with OnStar, obviously with GMAC vehicles, OnStar does a data feed every single day to GMAC on annual mileage, on miles driven. And so what's interesting is that they've been using that data for years. So I kind of find it interesting. I think the industry is shifting more towards a pay-as-you-go, telematic type insurance model if it can be adapted. But the mileage thing is going to continue to be a very, very important piece. And so just try to get it accurate when you start right at the point of quote.
The last thing that we wanted to talk to you guys about was limits. I don't know if you guys normally quote 100, 350 versus 100, 300, 100, but if you run quotes, the premium difference between 50,000 property damage and 100,000 is a few dollars. It's literally a few dollars every 6 months. So you should definitely be quoting 100, 300, 100 because, if somebody gets in an accident and causes $60,000 in property damage, they're going to come back to you with $50,000 in property damage when you could have very easily sold them $100,000. So we like to see $100,000 on property damage. Matching the uninsured motorist coverage. This is kind of 50-50. To me, and the way I explain it to my clients is, if you're going to carry $100,000 for injuries to one person if you hurt them, you should carry $100,000 for yourself if somebody else hurts you. It doesn't make sense to me to pay out money to protect somebody else's injuries and not protect your own. So your UM should always be matched. And again, the premium difference really isn't that much of a difference. The last thing is collision deductible waiver and uninsured motorist property damage. Some of you are probably familiar with how this works. If you have collision coverage, you want to make sure that all of your auto policies have the collision deductible waiver or the deductible buyback coverage. It's a few dollars, and if they're hit by somebody that doesn't have insurance, the client can file a claim under collision coverage and not pay the deductible. Otherwise, if they don't have collision deductible waiver, they have to pay their deductible, and that's not really fair for them to have to come out of pocket when somebody else hits them. If they don't have collision deductible waiver, if they don't have comfort collision coverage, you need to make sure that uninsured motorist property damage coverage is on there when available. It should be available all the time, but it's up to $3,500 in the event that their vehicle is damaged or totaled by an uninsured motorist. So it's just important to have, because when that happens, your client wants to make sure, or you want to make sure that your client's taken care of and it's less frustrating and they have the coverage when they need it. So I think that's just it for auto. Does anybody have any questions about anything?
One of the things I was going to ask you guys, especially since some of you guys are kind of newer to the group and newer to the independent agency side, are there any specific underwriting things that you guys are seeing or areas where you have some questions? A lot of it, you just run into it for the first time, excuse me, and you just try to, you learn it. Everything that you do is new the very first time when you're doing it. But do you guys have anything that we can try to answer or help with?
Do you have any markets outside of Foremost?
Say that again, John?
Do you have any markets for vacant properties outside of Foremost?
Yeah, in fact, we just picked up, we're getting in the process. We have an allied appointment, which is very difficult to get an appointment for you guys as members, but American Modern, I believe, is like a competitor of Foremost. Yeah. I just faxed in the addendum to our contract yesterday to get access to American Modern's online system. So we don't have it yet, but
so you can do individuals, like one house at a time with American Modern, correct?
Yes, I believe so.
Also have a blanket policy that's 10 or more.
American Modern does?
Yeah, it's like I deal with a lot of real estate investors, and they'll have like 20, 30, 40 houses that they're in the process of rehabbing and flipping. You can put them all in one policy together. It's monthly reporting form. I know it's more detailed than what we're talking about. I'm just looking for one by one now.
Yeah, I think on a one-by-one basis, American Modern and Foremost do that. On a blanket basis, did you say American Modern does that?
American Modern does, yeah. It's
interesting.
Really, really competitive, too.
Cool. That's cool. That's good to know.
Like $400 a property-ish, $400 to $500 depending on the dwelling size for the year.
Yeah, because it's probably just a basic DP1.
It is a basic form, but that's what these guys want.
Yeah, they just want to get the mortgage company probably, yep, or whatever, just the basic requirements that they need, right, satisfied. Kelly, were you going to say something, or was it Stephanie?
No, yeah, I had a question. Where do you, when people have like pizza delivery or something, do you guys have a referral for them if we don't have a market?
It would have to go, well, you have to try Access Plus commercial, but I don't even know if they have a market for it.
Oh, just straight to commercial auto?
Yeah, it's a commercial exposure. Whether we have a market for it, I don't know. But I'm sure if we don't have a carrier here, it could probably go through Eric. If you need somewhere to place it, or you could go through like Anderson and Mearson. They might have something through Surplus Line.
Okay,
yeah,
and then
what I think happens, Kelly, honestly, is that there are a lot of things we don't know. And my guess is that we probably have a good number of teenagers who are delivering pizza in our book of business right now that we don't know about. So what I would tell you is that with most of our preferred companies, if a claim arose, the carrier would probably pay the claim and then cancel the policy or exclude that driver.
As long as nobody knew about it.
Yeah.
As long as the agent didn't know about it and the carrier didn't know
They'd
about
probably
it.
try to subrogate against the businesses hired in non-owned auto as well.
It's possible. But if you do know, then it's something where what I would recommend that you do is just alert the carrier to it and let the carrier determine what action they want to take. They'll probably just get off the policy, send a non-renewal notice or something, but or memo to stop that occupation. But I think Oregon Mutual actually writes pizzerias and they do delivery, so I know they do commercial auto. They may be a market that commercial lines uses, but just, you can connect with Lori or Donna when that comes up.
And what about those clients who don't qualify as like good drivers who've had tickets or accidents? Where do you guys send them?
Yeah, we're sending them to GMAC, to Unitrin. Unitrin is the one that we use primarily. We avoid Progressive at all costs because they're not a partner and they pay really crappy commissions. So typically Unitren, GMAC, Bristol West, you guys have access to Mercury. Typically, though, with Mercury, we try to keep it standard business, not non-standard, meaning we don't want the true non-standard client, the guy who's not paying his bills, who has a DUI and a ticket. A couple of tickets and things like that are fine with Unitren. You guys have Foremost. Do you have Bristol West?
I do, yeah.
Not that I know of.
Yeah,
Bristol
yeah, it's underneath there.
Bristol West and Unitren are usually within pennies of each other, and Progressive.
Yeah, they're both competitive right now. So those are where we took it. I mean, Commerce West is there as well. The challenge with Commerce West is while their rates are great, their technology is terrible. It's functional. I shouldn't say it's terrible. Their technology is functional, but when you put it next to a GMAC or a Unitren, or it's just a different level, and so just depends on what you need, Kelly. If you're looking for rates, Commerce and Unitren are really good. If you're looking for ease of doing business, Unitren, Bristol, GMAC.
Unitren is so easy that when we started writing, I literally turned around to Robin and I said, did I miss a screen? Because it's like 4 screens and you're done. Super easy.
Okay.
And they're way more competitive than Progressive. Actually, we were quoting a lot of Progressive business with Unitren when we got the appointment, and the premiums were sometimes half of what Progressive was charging.
So if you guys, if anybody in here is interested in a Unitren appointment, because what's good for us is that Unitren is actually a national partner with SIAA. Now, there's no bonus money paid on Unitren, but that premium volume does apply to a kicker within our relationship with Kemper for profit sharing stuff. So, you know, we definitely, if it's something that you guys are interested in, you can shoot me an email and I'll get the rep in touch with you.
They're also good for younger kids that are clean but want 15-30-10. Because again, we don't write that stuff with our preferred carriers. So, you know, if a kid just moves out of the household and now he's on his own but can't afford 100, 300, 100, put him with Unitren and it's $400 or $500, you know. So they're good for that too.
I have a question.
Yes, Stephanie.
What about motorcycle? What company would you place motorcycle with? Good driver, motorcycle.
Yep. Typically, we will send that to one of 3 places. You guys have Safeco, and I believe you have Foremost as well. Both of those have great motorcycle products. GMAC also has a great motorcycle product. So those are 3 really good competitive markets that offer, you know, good coverage for your equipment and different things like that. And what's funny is we don't write a ton of specialty insurance in our group, and those 3 carriers, with the exception of Foremost, GMAC and Safeco are always asking me about motorcycle business. You know, can you guys write more motorcycle? I'm like, we just don't write that much of it. But, you know, so I would recommend GMAC or Safeco, whichever of those appointments you have. Safeco's nice because you can write the whole account with them. Whereas GMAC doesn't have a home product at this point. They will in the future, but not right now.
Tony?
Yes.
Off the top of your head, does Foremost underwrite according to number of years with a Class M license or an overall license experience?
I believe that Foremost goes by years of experience.
Yeah, you can even use years prior to your driving, like if you rode motor.
If you dirt bike and stuff as a kid.
Yeah.
And it's just stated. It's a stated amount, you know. So that's an advantage.
And it's bucketed, so anything over 5 years is pretty much going to rate the same.
Okay. So they don't count the date you got your Class M license, just the date you got your overall license?
Yep.
Okay. That's good to know, because I don't think it's really...
And Joe, what you can do too, just to confirm, just give Foremost customer service a call. They're very helpful. Just make sure that we're giving, you know, because I'm 98% sure on that answer, but okay. I always give a little hedge.
We'll look it up. I always double check.
Anything else, guys? You guys, if you want to, you know, I know all of you guys are at different stages, but do any of you guys want to throw out any ideas for future trainings? If not, you know, no big deal. But if you guys have any ideas of things that we can put together that'll help you, our goal is to try to make you guys as comfortable as possible, so you feel good writing business when you're with the clients.
You know, what do you need help with?
I'd like to see some stuff on marketing.
Okay. With respect to marketing, personal lines, commercial lines, both. Target marketing.
Oh, you already have a class set up for that, don't you?
Actually, SIAA is doing a target marketing class, and it's just so you guys know, for commercial lines, any of you guys who need prospect lists, you can send me the SIC codes in the general area that you want the prospects in, and I can run those for you for free because we subscribe to a Hoover's database, so that's no charge to you. But the target marketing thing that's coming up with SIAA is it's a good, solid, basic program that they're going to lay out to you, and it works if you do it. The key to any marketing is executing it. But yeah, so that's good. We'll come up with we'll put that on the list. Anything else? All right. Well, we're at 45 minutes, and that's about the perfect time to say goodbye. Thanks, guys, for showing up. And if you come up with any other questions that we didn't get to, let me know. What was that?
And tomorrow we have an open session. So if you guys go to sleep tonight, because I know you all go to bed and think about your jobs and review your day, if you have questions or anything, tomorrow we're going to have an open session. So you just come and, you know, throw out questions, ideas, problems, all that good stuff. So that's tomorrow at 9. If you guys miss us, you can talk to us tomorrow.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
We're here to help.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.